Hey, what's going on? It's Inventor here, with my Dance of Knives rogue in Diablo 4 Season 8. I just cleared Pit 55 to unlock Torment 4, so I wanted to share my build with you in case anyone was struggling to reach the endgame with Dance of Knives. In this build overview, I'm going to cover my character, abilities, progression, and other relevant information. Before I get started, I wanted to point out that with the adjustments made to the game this season, especially making pits tougher, I think that reaching Torment 4 with the Dance of Knives rogue is way more difficult than last season. But I cleared Pit 55 with this build, so reaching Torment 4 is definitely possible, and you can certainly do the same thing using the info I provide in this video. You'll probably dog walk Torment 1 and 2 with this build, hold your own just fine in Torment 3, but Torment 4 does take some prep in order to reach it. So first I'll talk about my gear. Gear. For my weapons, I have an ancestral bow with Edgemaster's aspect and dexterity as its greater affix. I couldn't find a better bow, so this damage over time is a dead stat, but at least I got max life on it too. My one-handers are both swords. One is GA Dex with Star Shards aspect, and the other is GA Useless with Clandestine aspect, but I couldn't find anything better either. For tempering, all of my weapons have Dance of Knives to deal double damage, and all offensive tempers are Cutthroat attack speed to cap out the attack speed damage bonus on Dance of Knives. For my helm, I have Godslayer Crown for its damage and pull. This makes it easier to use my main boss power, which I'll talk about in a moment along with the other boss powers. My chest armor is GA Dex with Juggernaut's aspect for armor. I also have all resistances to help reach the cap of 70%. I also use the incense and elixirs to boost my survivability. That's something I'll cover later as well. So next I have my gloves here. This is Grasp of Shadow for attack speed and 3 ranks of Cutthroat skills, both of which boost a Dance of Knives. There's also a pretty nice, unique effect, but the affixes on these gloves are ones that we can't typically find on a standard set of legendary gloves. On my pants, I am running Tybalt's. So I have my skill Concealment here, and it has a few effects, including giving me Unstoppable, which triggers Tybalt's unique effect for more damage. GA Life Boots with the Nebulous Bruise aspect. Now, Nebulous Bruise is a great mobility aspect because it allows you to pop potions while you're at full life and replenish potions while hopping around on Dance of Knives. The reason this is useful is because of the runes I used, which I'll cover in a moment. I also have 3 ranks of agility skills, aka Dance of Knives. It's better to reroll for plus ranks of Dance of Knives rather than agility skills on boots, but this was all I was able to get. My amulet is a GA max life amulet, but I managed to roll dexterity on it too. I would have preferred GA Dex over GA Max Life, or ranks to any passive that boosts my damage instead of movement speed, but this is the best amulet I had. For tempering, I used Cutthroat attack speed and total armor. In this case, total armor helps me reach the armor cap of 1000 with the elixirs and incense. I also put Stolen Vigor aspect for a large damage increase whenever I have momentum maxed out, which is pretty much all the time. Both of my rings are GA Dex with life resistances, subterfuge cooldown for concealment, and cutthroat attack speed to increase the damage on Dance of Knives. True Sight aspect gives roughly double the damage against marked monsters from inner sight, along with damage when my inner sight gauge is full, which makes it excellent against single targets such as bosses. Synergy aspect gives extra damage as long as I use concealment before Dance of Knives. In my sockets, I have emeralds in my chest armor for dexterity, and in my weapons for critical strike damage. My jewelry is socketed with gems that I was lacking resistances in. My pants are socketed with Yaks and Nur, meaning that if I pop 3 potions, then I'll activate Concealment to get Unstoppable, and this works with the damage multiplier from Tybalt's, of course. And my helm, to be honest, I just put whatever I had in there. If you have better runes, you could do like back rune with Watt rune so that you travel X amount of distance to pop Decrepify for CC and Execute or something. And finally, for elixirs and incense, you should use stats with whatever helps you hit the armor and resistances cap, and life otherwise. Boss powers. Regarding boss powers, I used Wandering Death's Chest Beam as the main power, Torisk's Sharpshooters, and Harbinger's Volley as side powers. Wandering Death's Chest Beam activates when you're using a channeled skill, so in this case, Dance of Knives. The beam's own damage does not feel impactful, but I am mainly using it for 50% damage boost. If I'm being honest, for the main power, I still think Harbinger of Hatred's Volley does the best overall damage. The volley power also works with this build really well because Dance of Knives automatically applies vulnerable because of concealment. But personally, I prefer the chest beam because it amps the damage of Dance of Knives itself. Next, I have Torisk's for more attack speed based on damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which I have maxed out at 20% from my Paragon boards. Then I have Sharpshooters for more damage to enemies the farther away they are. So when I'm using Dance of Knives, I try to keep my distance whenever I can. And lastly, Harbinger's Volley for vulnerable damage whenever I activate my boss power. Skills. From 1 to 60, I run Shadow Imbuement, Concealment, and Dance of Knives. Those are all you'll need. Shadow Imbuement gives you more AoE on top of your already ridiculous AoE. Concealment guarantees crit and vulnerable for the entire duration you channel Dance of Knives, and Dance of Knives is your main skill. The skill rotation here is pretty simple. Just activate Imbuement and Concealment, and then spin to win. So that's for 1 to 60. From Torment 1 onward, I used Barrage, Cold Imbuement, Concealment, Shadow Clone, and Dance of Knives. Starting with Barrage, I run Barrage so that I get a 25% damage boost from the Paragon Board Tricks of the Trade. You can use any marksman skill for this, but if you use a basic skill, it will trigger the Harbinger of Hatred's Volley modifier power, which causes your energy to dry up, and this is not desirable since we run Edgemaster's Aspect. Cold Imbuement. First off, credits to Cameo for the tip on Cold Imbuement. This, with its modifiers, gives a lot of damage to frozen enemies. So if we take a look here, you can see that Cold Imbuement applies chill to enemies per hit, but one of the modifiers, we can ignore the vulnerable since we already apply vulnerable from concealment. This Mixed Cold Imbuement allows you to do 20% more damage to crowd controlled enemies and double this bonus against frozen enemies. So against regular mobs, you're going to be applying chill with your cold imbuement, so you get 20% damage by default. And if you manage to freeze them, or if you stagger a boss, which happens pretty often, then you're getting 40% more damage from this alone. In addition, you have Frigid Finesse as one of the passive nodes on the rogue, and if you're chilling enemies, which again you're always doing with cold imbuement, then you get 15% damage against them. And against frozen enemies, that includes staggered bosses, that bonus goes up to 30% instead. Regarding concealment, as I alluded to earlier, this grants stealth, unstoppable, movement speed, and then it guarantees crit and vulnerable for the entire time you channel Dance of Knives, which is pretty much forever. Shadow Clone basically doubles your damage. Activate this when fighting elite packs or a boss. Dance of Knives. This one is self-explanatory, but one tip I have for you is to go as far as you can while channeling so you don't run out of charges. The skill rotation here should be that you use your Barrage to boost damage first, Imbuement second, Concealment third, Shadow Clone if you need it, and then finally, Dance of Knives. Regarding the specializations, I use Inner Sight, since it boosts my damage with the True Sight aspect. Paragon. When I cleared Pit 55, I had 215 Paragon points, but that's roughly about Paragon 186. I used 4 legendary nodes with 5 glyphs total, as you can see here. Let's see if I can expand this a little bit. Yeah, so 5 glyphs on 4 legendary nodes. That includes the starting board with Headhunter glyph, Dance Macabre board with Control glyph, Cheap Shop board with Pride glyph, Exploit Weakness board with Versatility glyph, and Tricks of the Trade board with Control glyph. More or less, I took as many multiplicative damage modifiers that work well with Dance of Knives as I could. I also wanted the Control glyph here to boost my damage to crowd-controlled enemies, giving me more attack speed from Torsk's boss power. Of my 5 glyphs, I leveled 3 of them up to rank 46, and the other 2 to at least rank 15. Mercenaries. While leveling 1 to 60, I prefer Subo for his built-in map pack. From Torment 1 onward, I prefer Rahir because he gives resistances. With Bastion, he can also sometimes give you a damage boost from Inspiration 2. But for my reinforcement, I run Aldkin with Field of Languish whenever I get CC'd to help keep myself alive. Progression. I'll talk about level 1 to 60 first and Torment 1 to 4 after. On level 1 to 60, I consider Dance of Knives Rogue to be pretty much the fastest leveling build in the game, not just for the Rogue, but across all classes. In this run, I finished in just under 4 hours, which was much quicker than with my other characters. The method I used was Helltides, Incursions, Strongholds, and Renown. I started by farming Hell Tides on normal and then turned in my Cinders on Penitent to reach roughly level 25, ran incursions on hard from level 25 to 50, did every stronghold on normal to reach level 59, and then finally turned in my Renown rewards for level 60. Note that after Hell Tides, I went through the first quest in the seasonal quest line so that I could unlock the Reputation Board that you can find in Tarsarak. I don't think you can do the Belial fight without completing the seasonal quest line first, so you should complete that when you can too. Torment 1 to 4, let's just say that my progress from Torment 1 to 4 was a bit convoluted. Instead of telling you how my gameplay went, I think it would be a better use of time to tell you what I would recommend instead, given the lessons I learned from my Torment journey. If you haven't done it yet, unlock the boss powers first on Torment 1. You'll need to clear world bosses to get the chest beam if you haven't already done it, but you can pick up Harbinger of Hatred's Volley from Harbinger's Den, and you can pick up other boss powers as placeholders like Varshan's Lifesteal in the meantime. Varshan's Lifesteal, you can get that from Malignant Burrow over beside Tree of Whispers. Note that you can fight the lair bosses even without boss mats, and defeating them should be pretty easy. Then level them in the Apparition Incursions, of course. Ideally on Torment 2 if you can. Running incursions can also give you Ancestrals, Tempering Recipes, and boss mats, all of which you'll need to gear yourself up. After leveling the boss powers first, I worry about the ancestral weapons second. Some good sources of these would be the Reputation Board rewards, Season Journey reward caches, and, of course, Murmuring Obols. There were changes made to the Purveyor of Curiosities this season, making it more likely that you can get Ancestrals or Uniques from this vendor for the Obols. Tempering Recipes third. You can get these from Whispers if you don't already have the Agile augments and the Cutthroat Finesse recipes. Uniques fourth. Run these whenever you have boss mats, since these give pretty significant damage boosts. Godslayer and Tybalt's seem to be a part of the general unique pool, so I think all bosses are able to drop them, although traditionally I pick these up from either Duriel or Andariel. Grasp of Shadow can be picked up from Grigwar, who needs Living Steel. And you can see that with the Living Steel, you can find these from Hell Tides, typically, but if you run the Reputation Board rewards and you get the incursions, then you should get plenty of Living Steel to go and find Grigwar in Hall of the Penitent. Masterworking materials only after Torment 3. Otherwise, you don't get very much. You can get Obdicite for masterworking via Tributes of Refinement, Infernal Hordes, or Nightmare Dungeons. I cleared Pit 55 with rank 8 on all of my Ancestrals, and rank 4 for everything else. Note that another reason why I like to hold off on masterworking is because if you find better weapons along the way, or better items in general, then you're going to want to use your Obdicite on those instead, rather than wasting them on less useful, let's say 750 item power items instead. Finally, level your glyphs in the pit. I usually start by ranking all glyphs to 15 first, then for rank 46, I would do chip, control, pride, versatility, and headhunter in that order. That brings us to the end of this video. Just keep in mind that I did a whole bunch of playtesting so I could figure out what level of power you need for each torment to try making things easier for you, dear viewer. So, hopefully this helps. Thanks everyone for watching. Inventor out.